Yeah, I was always the perfectionist. I was always really hard on myself. I definitely struggled with an eating disorder for quite a long time. And I just picked my body apart all the time. Like I did not love myself. I don't think in any way, shape, or form. And I didn't know that that was even a thing. Nobody really taught us that in school, right? Like it wasn't a thing when we were growing up. And nobody really talked about self love, or if they did, it was kind of like we all rolled our eyes.
Mompreneurs, it's not business, baby. It's business and babies. Whether you're rocking the carpool line, building your business during nap time, or dreaming big after bedtime, we've got the tools, tips, and strategies to help you grow your business. Grab a snack, your headphones, and enjoy this time with us because mom life and boss life deserve balance.
Welcome back to the Monetizing Mompreneurs podcast. Today, we're diving into a powerful conversation that will leave you feeling inspired and empowered. If you've ever faced a difficult season, whether in your health, business, or personal life, this episode is for you. I'm joined by Erica, and basically, she was in our Monetizing Mompreneurs Facebook group on our FB Live takeover. Now, Erica is a courageous woman who faced a life-changing diagnosis and completely transformed her health, mindset, and business. Erica's journey through healing, both physically and emotionally, is nothing short of remarkable. She shares how she overcame kidney cancer, reprogrammed her thoughts, and used gratitude, alignment, and holistic wellness to reclaim her life. We'll talk about self-love at a cellular level, the power of nutrition, mindset shifts, and how adversity can actually fuel your success. Erica also opens up about healing past traumas, using powerful tools like internal family systems, IFS, therapy, and EMDR, and what it truly means to step into your purpose. If you're feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or just need a reminder of how powerful you are, this episode is for you. So grab your cup of coffee or tea, take a deep breath, and get ready for an incredible conversation with Erica. Let's dive in.
But I think what had to happen was I had to recognize the magic of my body and the fact that I had, how healthy, just the little things like, wow, my body allows me to do so much in my life. My body birthed these two healthy children. Like I created them inside of me. And, just how our body naturally breathes air without us thinking about it. And I just really went back to the foundations um, and really kind of like connected with God or source or the divine or, whoever it is that you believe in. But got to know myself on a level and in a way that I had never tried to know myself before. And I think really going back and looking at, what all I had accomplished in my life, what my natural gifts were, things that people love about me, things that I love about me. And I started focusing on the positive instead of the negative and, just little shifts in my life. Like anytime I started having a negative thought about my body, I would flip it in my head and I would go in and say, great, there's actually 10 things that I'm grateful for about my body. And so same thing, if I started getting really down on myself or, like maybe my business not growing fast enough or making these mistakes or having a failed launch or whatever, my mind would kind of spiral. Well, I would go back to look at all the things that you love about yourself and about your life. And it's constant reprogramming. It's not like a one thing, or one day you wake up and you love yourself. It's like a process of learning how to reprogram your thoughts. And I think gratitude as well for the little things.
Gratitude is such a powerful tool that we have in our arsenal as mompreneurs, as entrepreneurs. I think that we discredit sometimes how powerful gratitude can be when we
Totally.
shift our energy from looking at what we don't have into actually being grateful for all the things that we do have. I've definitely learned that sometimes setbacks are actually a blessing
Yeah.
because they are there to teach you something that maybe you're overlooking to take you there, to take you to that next level, or to help you kind of like steward over what God has already given you. right? And for me, that's ridiculously powerful, but it took me some time to understand just how powerful gratitude can be. So did it turn into kind of like this routine that you do? Do you do a routine? Did you do a routine? Did you change your diet? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
because being on your current, what they say, remission, right? You're currently
Uh-huh.
on remission.
Yep.
Have
Yeah,
you-
I did change a lot in the very beginning. Now, I mean, what are we, 8 years out? I feel pretty solid that, knock on wood, I don't, I feel I'm pretty solid with my health and whatnot right now, but I did change a lot. I did have routines. I let go. One of the things that I did was I thought that if I, put things that were not living inside of my body, that wasn't going to help, right? So I really only craved things that were alive. So I stopped eating meat. I stopped eating any kind of meat. I did not eat anything that was processed. I didn't eat any kind of dairy, no sugar. I mean, it was literally just a plant-based diet. I had a lot of organic smoothies, every day, organic juices once, twice a day. And I really put everything inside my body that was alive and nothing else. And I did that for almost 2 years. And then, I would listen to I am affirmations on YouTube like twice a day. I would listen to them in the morning when I would wake up because my anxiety would be so high of like, how you wake up and you're like, oh my God, I just remembered that this is my life. So I would put the I am affirmations in my ears and I would listen to them for 20 minutes before I would get out of bed. I got really into yoga, which I think really helped me to create that relationship with my body in a different way. And what else? I think it was also a process of looking at my life very intentionally and saying, what is here because I felt it had to be here? And what is actually here because I want it to be? And so now, 8 years later, I have let go of so much. And everything in my life, in my house, in my home is in my life because of design, because it is designed to be here. So I let go of everything that I didn't love in my life. Of course, I'm a mom, I'm a mom and there's a lot of things that I have to do that I don't really want to do, like, whatever. But for the most part, everything that I have now brought into my life is here because I want it to be and because it is in alignment with me. And that was a big part of my healing journey too.
I have another question. I'm really
Yeah.
interested in it. It's kind of like, how do you think, I hear alignment, and I think alignment is such a, like a, also gratitude, being in alignment and having that design, like you said, having that everything. I love that. Like everything that was meant to be in your life, it was designed that way. So there's no coincidences, right?
Right.
So that's definitely living a life more with intentionality than it is with just thinking like things are happening by chance. Although there are
Totally.
some things that happen by chance, but I think that's a great perspective that you can have on life. But I want to know, how do you think that that adversity you went through played into your success? Because you didn't just have the diagnosis, but at the same time, you also went through that divorce.
Yeah.
And then how do you think that played into kind of like having that success? Did you believe that you couldn't fail?
Yeah. Good question.
Ooh.
I know. Yeah, it's been a lot. I think I got so reconnected. Well, first of all, I think accepting that you could die, I had to really accept my mortality. And that sounds really depressing, but I had to come to terms with the fact that I might die. I might leave this earth. I might not be able to see my kids grow up or graduate high school or get married or have kids. Like I had to come to reality with that. And then I guess at the end of the day, that's all of us, right? It wasn't just me because I had cancer. Like any of us could walk out on the street and get hit by a bus tomorrow. Like none of us are guaranteed life. But I think I had to really get used to that. And from that frame of mind, when you think like, wow, I might only have a year left or 2 years left, you're kind of like, F it, like forget it. It doesn't matter. What do I have to lose? Like I might die. I might not have life. Right. So I think it let me really feel into my intuition. And I had these big ideas of my business and how I wanted to grow it and the things I wanted to do that were so scary. But because it was like, I may not live through this, what do I have to lose? I'm just going to do it anyway. So I think it gave me a lot of courage to be able to go and do this big, scary things, because what were the, whatever, who cares, right? If it didn't work, it's not the end of the world. I might die. Like nothing could have been harder and more scary than facing death and not being able to see my kids grow up. And so it made everything in my business feel like, yeah, this is big and scary, but awesome. Let's go for it. So I think it gave me courage. And then it also took away the sense of failure. Like I didn't care if I failed because I was at least trying and I was living and I was doing the thing, you know? And I also only did things that I was really excited about. So like that was more my intuition telling me, here's this feels really good and exciting. I'm going to lean into this. But if an opportunity came and it felt like a little bit sticky and just like, oh, I don't know about that, then I would turn it away. And I think that really helped with my success as well, because it was like following my intuition and just saying yes to everything that felt right, no to everything that didn't. And that was it. It kind of just all fell into place.
Amen. That's ridiculously amazing, empowering. I think that, there was a few key things that you said that really impacted me during the conversation, which was you were facing death.
Yeah.
So you basically faced death, almost like, Puss in Boots, right?
Yes, I
if you
am.
if you watch that episode,
Yeah.
with the little ones. No, but you pretty much faced death, came to grips with your mortality, like you said. Oh, Wendy has a question. Okay, Wendy. Oh, she wants to chime.
Yeah.
Wendy, go ahead.
I didn't want to interrupt you though. I can ask it at any time.
Go ahead, Wendy. You're here. Let's talk.
When you say that you learned to love yourself at a cellular level, I know you did explain that you ate the natural foods, but could you explain that a little bit more? What are some, key points that define that you learned to love yourself at a cellular level?
Yeah, some key points that I learned to love myself on a cellular level. So I think some of the key points, obviously, nourishing my body in a different way, and prioritizing what I was putting into my body. I think that was a big thing. I was not sleeping and I wasn't asking anyone for help. My ex-husband, we're not married anymore, but it was all me. It was all me to do. I was working full time. It was all me to do the toddler. It was all me to do the baby. I wasn't sleeping and I wasn't taking care of myself. And he would just go off and kind of do his thing and live his life like normal. And meanwhile, I'm dying over here. And so it was asking for help. Hey, I need you to get up in the middle of the night with one of these kids because I actually need to sleep for longer than an hour and a half at a time. It was prioritizing taking naps during the day over lunch. Like I would literally go out to my car because this was before I started my business, and I would sleep for half an hour in my car and just try and restore myself rather than pushing through my lunch hour, not eating, not drinking, right? I got a really amazing water filter so that I was drinking only clean alkaline water. And I was making sure that I was prioritizing exercise as well. So I actually started getting up about an hour before my kids, because normally it would just be my kids are going to wake me up at 5:30 or 6 o'clock a.m. And then I started the day doing everything for everybody else. And I started getting up an hour earlier and then prioritizing me. So that was my time for prayer. That was my time for meditation. That was my time for moving my body in a way that felt really good to me. I didn't force myself to exercise in any ways that I didn't love anymore. It was yoga, it was walking, it was dancing, it was riding horses. And I think when I say learn to love myself on a cellular level, it was learning to listen to what my body wanted and needed and what I wanted and needed, and ignoring all of the outside pressure to be doing all of these things that I really didn't want to be doing. I learned how to say no. I learned about boundaries and started setting boundaries with people in my life. And I think those are probably the main key points of learning to love myself and take care of myself also.
I guess piggybacking on that, when you said that you knew that you needed to get to the root of the problem or the root of what caused, did you get to the root?
Yeah,
Do you?
I feel that I did. Sure. And you probably want to know how or what do I think that was?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you familiar with Louise Hay's work?
Mhm. No,
Yeah.
I'm not.
So okay, so Louise Hay is someone you should look up. She's amazing. She's not alive anymore, but her work, she's like the original self-love lady. I think she kind of um maybe like invented the coin self-love back in the 60s maybe. But she has a theory that she calls like disease in our body is actually dis-ease. So dis-ease. So there's dis-ease in our body, right? And she has, if you Google Louise Hay body symptoms, there's actually a bunch of her research, and it shows correlations between emotions that you're experiencing, trauma that you're holding, hatred, resentment, guilt, all of those specific symptoms in your body are tied back to certain emotions and things that we're really holding on to. So cancer was a lot of resentment and self-hatred, right? So that makes sense because I was so resentful of a lot of people. I was holding so much hate in my body, and unhealed trauma. And then the kidneys are toxicity, right? So you're holding the toxicity in your body. Your body's not letting go of the toxicity that you're feeling. So I was so angry with my husband. I did not like myself at all. I was constantly hard on myself. I hated my job. I was stressed. I was exhausted. I felt like my kids were kind of trapping me in a way. And there was so much toxicity in my body that it was like, this just makes sense. My body could not handle it anymore. And it just started turning on itself in my kidneys, right? Like my kidneys were so toxic that they couldn't even release it anymore. They just started eating it. It started eating itself away. And so that was really big for me was, I started my own healing journey and, releasing a lot of childhood trauma, the way that I grew up, finally forgiving my parents for things that I was really holding on to. And it was a lot of emotional healing that came with my physical healing as well.
Okay, I'll ask one more question.
Yeah, go for it.
What are some of the processes then so I understand all the different facets that you described of the exercise, the eating, and the mindset work. So when you went through a forgiveness journey or the healing that took care of, I guess the reframing, the rethinking, do you have recommendations or was there something what were the processes you went through to have a forgiveness journey?
Yeah, I've done a lot. I've done a lot of like more new age type healing experiences. I've done a lot of breath work journeys, a lot of sound healing, a lot of, I've gone on retreats. But honestly, I think what made the most difference for me was really diving into therapy. IFS, internal family systems. I don't know if you're familiar with that modality, changed my life. Like, I think that was where the healing truly came was through that modality, internal family systems. And it just allowed me to find it's all about parts. So like there's different parts of you, right? So there's a part of you that is this child that is holding on to the fear and doesn't recognize that there's another part of you that is an older grown woman who actually has resources and can take care of this little child in here, right? So it's all about learning the different parts of yourself. And I was able to, through that modality, go back and do a lot of inner child healing, as well, which I think played a huge part in my journey. So I definitely recommend internal family systems. And if you Google that, there will be different practitioners that pop up. And I did mine online, so it wasn't in person, it was online.
So I know that I'm not necessarily here to source, I'm learning from you, but did you do EMDR therapy?
I did. I did EMDR. I still do EMDR. Yep. I have a therapist who does EMDR with me. And I don't do it as regularly as I used to. Now it's kind of as needed, but I was weekly for a long time with her also. Yeah.
That's just one thing that I've experienced that I've been amazed by.
It's so great. Yes.
If
Yep.
I can ask, what is that? What is I can't even.
EMDR.
Yeah.
Yeah, it reprograms your subconscious mind. They use like eye movement, so they'll have you I don't exactly know the science behind it, but they do certain exercises with your brain, with your subconscious brain, and then they like use your eyes to really lock it in. But it changes the way your subconscious mind works. I don't know, Wendy, if you want to add to that. That's sort of how I took from it, or what I took from it.
Yeah. So when they've done it with me, I've had two different therapists and they go about it a little bit differently. But the concept with me is they put a vibration. It's almost like a little computer mouse, but it's small enough for your hands. And you can close your eyes and they talk you through it. It goes left, right, left, right. So it is the eye movement. And my eyes are usually closed, but they'll ask a question, notice that, and then they'll turn it on and everything's quiet until they stop the vibration. And then they'll add to that to say, okay, what did you learn? Or what did you notice? Or they'll ask a leading question. And so I will say the thing that's been so effective for me about that is that was a learning process to realize how much of my thinking has been influenced by others or I've been told how to think. And there are so many blockages in the mindset that come from not being able to really speak your mind. So when you're talking about getting to the root of things and getting to your honest place where you can say yes to the things that you need.
Right.
I think it was a breakthrough for me. It's still, I mean, when I continue to do that, I'm surprised how much healing and how much rewiring that does.
Yeah.
Because I finally get permission to think for myself.
Right.
And I make discoveries.
Yep.
And it gives you time to just be with yourself. So I would say that when you're talking about cellular level healing, I've been amazed at how much I have self-discovery to realize. Yeah, when I'm actually, there was one time when I was in the middle of an EMDR and I opened my eyes and I was like, who is this talking to me? Because it's like me talking to me, but God talking to me. It's getting to the end. Like if there's a journey, I called it that there was one issue that I was dealing with and I got to the end of the cul-de-sac, all the way down to the very end of it. And when I was finished, I knew that it is finished. I knew that the disturbances were, I knew that I will never have an issue about that again. And to get a little personal is because I feel like I got God's approval on something. It was like, because he was like, well, yeah, your hands are messy on this, aren't you? You didn't get through this with clean hands. And I was like, yeah, God, my hands are messy. And he was like, but I needed you to do what you did anyway. So it was like I got affirmation that I had done my assignment well. And
That's amazing. I love that. Yeah, that's incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Wendy, for sharing and for sharing your story and for letting us know what that, what that experience is. Because there's so many, I mean, I think when you get to a point that they say that you can have 1,000 problems, but then when it comes to your health, then you only have one,
Yes, which is so true.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so when we get to that point, I think we would become a little bit maybe desperate for like, man, I need to think differently. I need to get healing. There's something here that I need to do. Some people do two things. Some people do, Erica, like you, like grab the situation and push through and do what they need to do. And then others go spiral into depression and they don't know what to do. How did you combat that? Because that's so easy to, you know what? I'm just going to be in bed because I'm sick. Right?
Yeah. Whoa. Don't do that. So I think this is actually, it's like, it's so weird how you look back and you see how it all just lined up for you. Right. My uncle, my mom's brother, is only 12 years older than me. He's quite a bit younger than her. He was diagnosed with kidney cancer 3 years prior to me. And which is weird. It's not anywhere in our family. And kidney cancer is actually not genetic also. So that's another weird thing about that. So it was really bizarre. Nobody in my family has ever had cancer, but here I am getting diagnosed with the same cancer that he was diagnosed 3 years before. Well, I watched his return and return and return. And I watched his spread through his body, into the other kidney, into his adrenal glands. They had to remove the adrenal glands, into his lungs, into his blood, chemotherapy. I mean, I watched this man deteriorate. And so and the thing is he didn't do anything different in his life. He got depressed and stayed in bed and told all of us he was going to die and that his life was cut short and that he wasn't going to live. And he stopped working. It was like he was making himself sick. I just watched him go downhill. And that was part of my fear, but it was like, okay, I watched this man go down the rabbit hole of depression, not change anything in his life, except that was going to be his fate. And that's what happened. And I was going to say, I was going to take a completely different approach. And so I didn't even let myself go there. It was like, I'm going to do everything the opposite of what my uncle did. I am going to keep positive. I'm going to speak health into me. I'm going to pray about this. I am going to manifest healthy cells in my body, right? I did everything I could to create a vision of what I wanted my body and my life and my health to be. And I didn't accept anything less than that. And so I think had I not had that experience of watching my uncle, I don't know that I would have been able to, I don't know. I think it would have been very different. I think it could have been very different for me.
I really got goosebumps. Go ahead, Wendy.
I know. I thought of something else because relating to the EMDR, the thing that was so good about that for me is the issue of coming into agreement with things. So much of what we do, especially if we're empathic females, because we're designed to be compassionate, but some of the ways that I have served other people is that I come into agreement with them. And so what you're saying is you just told two stories, one of your uncle and then you. And the gift of that for you is that you were determined not to come into agreement with it.
Right.
And that the repatterning that I'm talking about with the EMDR was the things that I had come into agreement with without even realizing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. We have to be really careful of, life and death are in the power of the tongue, what we're saying to ourselves, what we're agreeing about, because I really feel like there's certain universal laws. And for me, I find those in the Bible. And there's one that says if two come into agreement, it will happen for them. Yes. And it doesn't say if it's positive or negative. It says if two comes into agreement, right?
Yep.
And so I think, sometimes we have to come into agreement. No, God, you've promised me certain things. And I agree with having health, especially if we understand, like, when our body gets cut, it's it's self-regenerative in the sense of it heals itself. So there's something here that's causing this issue. And I got to go into the root problem. And that's what you did, Erica, is like, okay, I saw that one story and I saw what he was agreeing with and I saw what he was speaking over himself about. I saw his actions, right? Because I think we not only agree with words, but we also agree with what we do, right?
Yeah.
Faith without works is dead. So if we believe something and we're moving and acting out what we believe in, usually we'll see that outcome, right? When we're walking toward that in faith. Right. And so I think that your story is so powerful. And I think it's going to be such a huge blessing to so many women that are not just going, because we all face certain things. It may not be manifested yet in our bodies, but we all feel and we're all emotional. And if we're not cognizant of our emotions and the toxicity that we're holding within our bodies, then it's going to tear us apart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
Well, and I think there's so many women, of our age who are being diagnosed with autoimmune diseases. And I also watched my mom, there were so many things that she struggled with in her 30s and was diagnosed with autoimmune diseases in her 30s and still struggles with them now in her 60s. And, I think so much of it comes from emotions and how we look at ourselves and love ourselves or don't love ourselves, and this truth that we speak into our lives and in our bodies. And I think it's I think the way that we're moving now is what is causing these and what is the root of it and how can I address it from a holistic perspective, instead of just going straight to Western medicine and trying to pop a pill.
Erica, thank you so much for coming in. This is a 30-minute. We kind of passed time.
It was so fast.
I know but it was so impactful. And I'm gonna add this into the podcast because it's so
Great.
good. And I feel like women need to hear your story, need to hear your message. I know that you have so much and I want to dig in deeper. But where can people find you, Erica?
Yeah, thank you. Everything is on my website, ericacarrico.com. I do a lot of free trainings on Instagram, Erica Lynn Carrico. I'm on YouTube, Facebook, in school. I mean, you can just find me everywhere. So just Google search.
Wendy, any last questions?
Thank you, Erica, so much. I think that with you overcoming something as difficult, I mean, seeing you rise up, even those of us who aren't dealing with something like cancer, can just think about if Erica started at that very difficult place and applied these principles, then you can, just how much you can reframe your life.
1,000,000%. That is my story. That is what I want to share. That is what my book is coming out about. Because I think we are capable of so much more than we think we are.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you, Erica. I mean, it empowered me, to be honest. I have been, I've been trying to kick myself out of this like negative thing, because sometimes we go through it, right?
Totally.
But did you just kick me in the booty with this one?
Amazing.
Yes, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to focus on practicing on being more positive because we can beat ourselves up without even knowing, right? And we're wondering like, why do I feel this way when it's really our self-talk? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Read Louise Hay's book. I love it. It's You Can Heal Your Life is the name of her book. And it was life-changing for me.
I'm definitely going to grab it.
Great.
Erica, thank you for being one of our guest teachers. You have definitely taught us so much in this short amount of time. So thank you so much.
You're so
honored.
welcome. Thank you for having me. It's been such a pleasure.